All right, in this video I'd like to go over my approach to layering and trying to keep things as lightweight as possible. It'll be focused on my my torso, my core, and up. I'm going to start with the active layers and the layers that I'm going to need to be wearing more or less all the time as I'm hiking in the hills. Now I will say, I'll add a little disclaimer here. If you're primarily into through hiking or you're into trail running or something where you are active most of the time, you're going to see some aspects of this that probably won't necessarily apply to you as well. Most of what my family and I do in the woods is geared towards something that is going to require us to be stationary for a significant period of time, whether it be hunting or photography, something that has us going into the woods. We're active, and we're actually, we're creating heat, and we're able to maintain that heat with fewer articles of clothing, but then we're going to stop for some period of time. And so this particular approach to layering is going to be focused more towards that, something that's going to cover both an active period and a stationary period and wide ranges of temperature. Okay, so I do have my scale here so we can kind of weigh things as we go. And get that turned on. Okay, so I'm going to start with something I've been using here the last couple of years, a really thin mesh base layer, something that is actually, I would call a thin hoodie like this be my actual base layer, but this is going to go underneath my base layer. And this Brynje, I'll pronounce that, B-R-Y-N-J-E, probably pronouncing it incorrectly. And it's just a tee that goes on underneath, skin layer, if you will. And that article is going to be 3.9 ounces. Set these off to the side there. And then some sort of a really thin nylon or more like a merino wool base layer is going to be the next layer up in my system. Something like this Sitka base layer here with the partial 3/4 zip and the hoodie. 5.8 ounces. Now I do have my own version of this. I don't tend to use this one. It snags a lot. I've got a different nylon shirt that I've modified with a hood and things that I like a little bit better than that. This merino wool, and this is a First Light, and their Arrow wool wick model. Again, it's just a pullover hoodie, and that is 7.5 ounces. So again, you're going to have this mesh underneath a base layer of some sort. Now, what I found is those two articles of clothing together get me everywhere from very warm 70-80 degree range on down to the 40s or 50s. I'm generally comfortable. Low 40s even. I'm walking around, I'm moving around a lot. That combo traps a lot of heat, but it also breathes really well. It expels a lot of the moisture, so I don't get really muggy and hot and sweaty as much doing this system. And then if it starts to get a little bit more chilly or I need a little bit of a windbreak, I'm going to have some sort of a wind shell layer. Now this is one that my wife and I had made, but there are lots of options on the market. So this is 6.5 ounces. And this was this is not a hoodie, it's just another kind of a little bit thicker nylon shirt material that we basically took the shirt apart and added a zipper to. And I will put that on the outside of a base layer, which is on the outside of my mesh, and that extends my range down another 10 degrees easily. And if it's windy, let's say it's in the 50s, but it's really a cold wind, this is generally all I'm going to need. If it starts to get a little bit colder though, I'm going to want to then add in some sort of a light fleece. Now this is a Future fleece from North Face, and it's, again, this is a great active layer. We're at 7.2 ounces. Another alternative would be this Alpha fleece, and that is, I'm not touching there, 6 or 5 points. I'm going to see it around here, 6.7 ounces. I'm sure I got that one right. 7.4 ounces. And what these are going to allow me to do is, again, continue to move. I'm going to be continue to expire the moisture. I'm sweating as I'm hiking up hills, hiking along the trail, but it's getting colder. So now it's into the 30-degree range, and I'm still comfortable. I'm still maintaining my core temp, but it's allowing that moisture to get out. And all of these garment options up to this point are all breathable. None of them are going to be retaining that moisture up against my skin. Now, if it really starts to get some inclement weather, or the wind really gets bad, and it seems to be, and this thin nylon isn't cutting it, I can switch to my rain shell. And in this case, I've got here the King's Camo, just their 100% polyester shell. It's been reasonably waterproof. It's, as you'll see here, it's not the lightest weight rain shell you can get, but it does work for hunting purposes with its camo color, and it's kind of a nice texture. I'm at just under 13 ounces. Well, I'm right at 13 ounces actually for that. Something like the Sitka Dew Point would be another alternative. That's about 10 ounces if you want something a little more durable for hunting purposes. And so I could swap that for this nylon wind shell that I use, and with or without the fleece. And I'll tell you, I've had a situation here just this last season, this hunting season. We were on a really steep mountain. It was cold, it was windy. We ended up in about 2 or 3 feet of snow for most of the day, and just this jacket and this thin fleece layer and my regular base layer system, I was comfortable all day. I mean, and we put on about 8-10 miles that day. So we were moving a lot. Now, if you stop though, that's when it gets a little bit more tricky. So you want to be able to have something in your pack. And I'll keep a puffy like this Stone Glacier puffy, which is right about 10.3 ounces. And this is a full hooded, thicker puffy, down puffy. Let's see if it tells me the style or the type of down. This is just their medium. Will it tell me? 100% gray goose down, shell nylon, lining is nylon. That's all it's going to tell me. 850 fill power, that's what I was looking for. So that's an 850 fill power down. Now, one thing about these Alpha fleeces and the Future fleeces, they're pretty delicate, and so I won't wear those without something over the top of them. And the same thing for my down. I don't want this getting snagged, so I'm always going to be putting on a shell layer, be it my rain shell or this wind shell, over the top, okay? And that's going to make sure that if I'm going through brush or whatever, that it's protecting these layers that are a little bit more delicate. Usually what I'm going to have, I won't usually combine the 2 fleece layers unless it's really, really cold. But I'll usually have the Alpha layer as just a nice dry layer in my pack. So if I'm really exerting and climbing a hill and I have to stop pretty quickly and I have to get warm, or stay warm rather, I can take the Future fleece off, put it in my pack. It might be a little bit damp, and swap out to completely dry Alpha, and then put the down jacket on top of that, and then put my rain shell over the top. And that is something that I'll be comfortable down into the teens and even below. And if I start stacking all these layers together, and I'll usually have another small thin fleece in the bag, Maybe I'll have another down vest if I'm expecting, you know, sub-zero temperatures, that I can kind of keep layering those out. So one last point with that is you want to make sure, and I have a jacket system here. I always make sure that the jacket is one size bigger than I would maybe normally comfortably wear if I was trying to, you know, have a slimmer fit or whatever. But I'm going to want to make sure the jacket's big enough that it can allow the poofiness of these other layers to expand out and kind of fill that void, and that's going to allow that heat to be retained in that air pockets there. So that's my layering system. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below.